Goofy's eyes slowly opened, and when he was fully awake he realized he was in a small house. "Where am I?" he asked. "You're safe now, boss," an Exodus troop said. Goofy looked over and saw 3 Exodus men, along with the Tails doll next to them. "Look at us," Goofy said miserably. "I took so long to build up the Exodus, and now it's being taken away from me." An Exodus man shyly walked up to Goofy. "Boss, with all due respect, what is our current motive? Domination?" "I suppose," Goofy responded. "But for what?" the man asked. "We're losing more than we're gaining. All I'm saying is some of us have families and, well, you gotta know when to walk away from the table sometimes. Don't you have enough?" Goofy was angered by this. "Not until Shadow is dead," he said furiously. "He escaped today, and he knows he deserves what's coming. He's scared because deep down he knows that he deserves it." "Boss, what are you talking about?" a troop asked. Goofy sat up. "A few years ago," he started, "I was nothing. A nobody. People like Shadow treated me like dirt. And that's just it. It wasn't just Shadow, but everyone. It tore me up inside. No matter how kind or how much I helped people, they shoved me away and laughed. They laughed behind my back, or right to my face, all because I was weak-minded. A fool, they all called me. Well, I wouldn't let that last much longer. Not too much longer. I met a man who sympathized with me. He wanted nothing more than for me to be accepted. He told me that he was working on a type of serum that would heighten my brain activity, raising my intelligence. Well, I was overjoyed, thanking him for everything he was going to do. All he asked of me was to be his partner, and so I agreed. Once the serum made its full effect, I joined the man and helped him create something spectacular. A robot with an unbelievable level of artificial intelligence. The robot would help detect strong forces of power, such as the Chaos Emeralds, giving its owner great power. That robot was the Tails doll, and the man who helped me, who I am today, is because of Timon. So along came Shadow and his friends, and they destroyed the Tails doll along with my partner, Timon. I was devastated, but I had to keep a low profile so I didn't tell anyone about my involvement with the Tails doll project. Late one night I returned to the destruction site of Timon's headquarters, and I found him there, alive. Shocked, I brought him back to my house, keeping him alive with medicine and whatever I could find. He was too weak to walk for a month, so I took care of him. To help pay for it all, I got a small job at a fast food joint called Quesadilla Grande. "Ooh, I love that place," an Exodus troop chimed in. Goofy glared at him. "Sorry," the troop apologized. "Anyways," Goofy continued, "that's where things really took a spiral for the worst. About a month later, after I started working at Quesadilla Grande, none other than Shadow the Hedgehog came for a job there. And he got it. He took everything from me. I had a steady start going, a decent life, and he ripped it away. I was infuriated. After I lost my job, I returned to Timon's old destroyed HQ. I had a small thought. If Timon had survived that blast, maybe the Tails doll could have as well. I found the small remaining parts of the Tails doll, so I brought everything back I could to my house. When Timon saw the scraps of the robot, he panicked, calling me insane for wanting to build it again. I longed for dominant power, but I couldn't build the Tails doll without Timon, so I held him hostage, threatening his life if he wouldn't help me. The Exodus troops all gave a frightened look, and Goofy was offended by this. I saved his life. He should have my back. Is that so much to ask?" So I kept Timon there. And within a couple weeks he had reconstructed the Tails doll's parts. However, the Tails doll was too damaged to work like it had before. We needed a strong source of power, the Chaos Emeralds. So I started to recruit troops such as yourselves. The Exodus, I called our small group. That small group grew quickly, and not much later I had several troops searching for the emeralds. Some hired hitmen. Pirate Mickey and Frog kept Sonic and his friends busy, but the real focus was finding those emeralds. And I did. I had almost all of them, but could not find the remaining ones for the life of me. And I couldn't find them for the longest time. It was gnawing at me, gnawing at me. Then I discovered my friend, my partner Timon, had been hiding them from me. He was scared of what I could do. He had stabbed me in the back, so I did the same. I took back what was gratefully mine, and with all 7 emeralds, I recreated the Tails doll. So why am I doing this, you ask? Well, simply because when the world takes as much from you as it did from me, you strive to take a little something back. Goofy sat there in the darkness with the 3 intimidated Exodus troops. Sonic and the gang were all on the cold forest ground, fast asleep. Tails' nose began to sniff as he picked up a scent. It was smoke. The smell became so strong that it woke Tails up. He slowly struggled to his feet and flew up in the air, high above the trees. Miles away, there was a huge pillar of smoke coming up from the nearby city. "Oh no!" Tails panicked. He quickly dropped back to the ground and woke everyone up. "Guys," he yelled, "the city is under attack! I think it's Goofy!" Shadow got up. "I know it's him." "What could make someone do so much harm?" Tails asked. "Shadow, you know him best. What is he doing? Why is he doing this?" Shadow put his head down. He knew why. Because of how he treated him. What he had done to him. "Because of me," Shadow said. "Something I did. Made him snap." "Shadow, don't be ridiculous," Sonic said. "And now he's getting even," Shadow continued. "You guys should deal with the Tails doll, but I need to stop Goofy. Alone. Maybe I can talk them all out of this. Now come on, let's get moving." They all dashed through the forest into the burning city. Goofy overlooked all the destruction. As he stood on top of a high building, Tails doll blasted dark energy balls to crumble buildings to pieces, and citizens ran out screaming. "Goofy, stop!" Shadow screamed. Goofy looked down at Shadow and the gang, who were on the city's main street. "I knew you'd come," Goofy said. "You were always quick to help those who mattered." "Goofy, if all you want is me, then here I am. But these are innocent people. Don't drag them into this," Shadow said. "It's not just about you," Goofy shouted. "I've spent the larger part of my life being kicked around, laughed at, and spit on. These people aren't innocent. But you're right. You're the biggest offender, and I'll settle for your death." Goofy looked down over everyone besides Shadow. "I warn you once again," he started. "Turn around now, and leave Shadow to me." "Not a chance," Sonic said. Goofy nodded. "My suit, gentlemen," he said. 2 Exodus troops walked up and built a metal suit of armor around Goofy's whole body. "What the?" Knuckles said. At the end of one of Goofy's metallic arms was a saw blade, and at the other end was a flamethrower. "Like it?" Goofy asked. "A little side project of mine, just in case things got a bit out of hand." "Aw, are we too much for you?" Sonic joked. "I just want to test it out a bit," Goofy said before jumping down and cracking the street. "Looks like you're gonna need some help," Sonic said to Shadow. "I need to handle this on my own," Shadow argued. "Well, we don't have much of a choice now," Sonic said. "Knucks, think you can help us get this trash can out of the city?" "You betcha," Knuckles responded. Sonic ran into Goofy, pushing him fast through the city, back towards the forest which they came. Tails and Pikachu stood there, staring up at the Tails doll. Hi," Tails said nervously. "Remember me?" Tails doll's eyes flashed bright. "Guess not," Tails shouted before he and Pikachu ran away. "Alley-oop," Sonic said before kicking Goofy to Shadow, who knocked him into the air. Knuckles jumped up and punched Goofy deep into the woods. "Man, that hurt," Knuckles said, rubbing his hand. Come on, let's go finish him off, Sonic said as he and Shadow ran into the wilderness. Where do we go? Pikachu asked. That old church, Tails answered. It's abandoned. Sure, that's creepy enough, Pikachu said. They pushed the old wooden doors open and ran in. Bar the doors, Tails shouted. They found a wooden plank and blocked the door down. Seconds later, there was a knock. Who is it? Pikachu asked. The door came bursting down, and there stood the Tails doll. Oh man, Tails said nervously. The Tails doll then began to shoot dark energy balls at Pikachu and Tails, who quickly dove out of the way. The energy balls blasted against the wooden floor, cracking it. Tails and Pikachu pushed the door open and ran inside a small room, but they became boxed in. They were trapped, and Tails' doll charged up one huge energy ball, when all of a sudden, Knuckles jumped up from behind them and punched him to the ground. He looked to see Tails and Pikachu, who were both a bit frightened. Phew, Tails said. Thanks, Knuckles. Goofy came flying quickly towards the woods. He smashed up into a tree, but bounced off and crashed onto the ground. He moaned in pain, but quickly got up ready to fight. The woods were quiet, and Goofy looked all around in directions, just desperately looking for an attacker. There was a few more moments of silence when Sonic zipped past Goofy, knocking him back, almost off balance. Shadow then dashed from another angle, spinning Goofy a bit, and then quickly ran in for the finishing blow. He hit Goofy with a solid punch, sending him flying into a tree. The giant tree snapped, and the top half fell towards Shadow, who quickly rolled out of the way before the tree landed on the ground. Goofy unleashed a saw blade from his arm and sliced down 3 trees. Shadow dodged all 3, but when he was preoccupied, Goofy shot fire into his face with a flamethrower. Ah! Shadow shouted in pain, patting the flames from his head. Goofy locked onto Shadow with a targeting system, which would keep track of him at all times. Goofy heard a rustling in the bushes, and Sonic darted out, but Goofy managed to back away and dodge his attack. He then targeted Sonic and shot a saw blade at him. The sharp blade cut Sonic's arm, and he let out a shout of pain. Thanks to his targeting system, Goofy now knew where Sonic and Shadow were at all times. The church was dark, and while Tails, Pikachu, and Knuckles outnumbered the Tails doll, his strength was still intimidating. Tails ran up and swung his tails, doing some damage. Knuckles ripped out a chunk of concrete wall and threw it at the Tails doll, sending him into another wall. Tails doll blasted out with dark energy. Great, Knuckles said sarcastically. Tails doll flew quickly towards Knuckles, but was stopped when Pikachu shot a blast of electricity at him. Get him, Pikachu! Tails shouted. Pikachu tackled Tails doll with so much force that they broke through a wall and entered another room in the church. The room was dark and dusty, and had an old wooden spiral staircase that went up to the top steeple. Tails doll was on the ground, but got up and shot a huge beam of dark energy across the whole room. The beam tore through the ground and the structure of the church, and the pillars of the wooden stairs. That's no good, Tails said. They all tried to escape through the hole in the wall, but Tails doll shot an energy ball above it, crumbling the wall and blocking the exit. We're stuck! Knuckles panicked. Going up! Pikachu yelled, running up the staircase. As the 3 of them ran up the stairs, Tails doll flew behind them, shooting energy balls, further damaging the church's structure. We gotta slow him down, Tails said. On it, Knuckles replied, ripping a brick from the wall and chucking it at Tails doll. It shattered on his face and slowed him down a bit, but only made him more angry. He flew towards the 3 friends, but Tails was fast, and ripped off the wooden railing, smacking the Tails doll off the side of the stairs, and back onto the stone floor. That worked, Tails said excitedly. Back in the woods, Sonic and Shadow attempted to sneak up and surprise Goofy, but it was no use. Goofy knew where they were no matter what, and he always had a plan of countering their attacks. Sonic once again ran up to Goofy, who held out his metal arm. Sonic smashed his face into it and fell onto the ground. No! Shadow yelled, jumping from a bush, and Goofy turned to face Shadow, shooting flames at him. Shadow fell to the ground very injured. Pathetic, Goofy said. I've got you both marked. Now you can't hide. Sonic got up weakly. Good, he said. We don't need to. Shadow, he's using a targeting system. Yeah, I noticed, Shadow said, rubbing his bruises. We gotta destroy it. They both charged at Goofy and threw punches. Goofy tried to use his saw blade, but they both ducked under it. Goofy then used his flamethrower, but Shadow kicked it up at his face, softening the metal on Goofy's helmet. With the heat of the fire, Sonic jumped up and kicked Goofy's mask, shattering the protective glass and destroying his targeting system. The glass cut Goofy's face, and the strength of Sonic's kick forced him onto his knees. Sonic then threw several quick punches at Goofy's head. Shadow kicked Goofy to the ground, and Goofy tried to fight back using his saw blade, but Shadow ripped it from his arm and used it to smash up Goofy's armor. Goofy pointed his flamethrower at Sonic, but Shadow threw the saw blade to Sonic, who used it to crush Goofy's flamethrower to pieces. Goofy was on the ground, defeated. Sonic and Shadow were both tired and panting heavy breaths. "Oh man, nice work," Shadow nodded. Tails, Knuckles, and Pikachu were almost at the top of the church stairs, when all of a sudden, Tails' doll smashed through the wooden stairs, right in front of the three friends. They all gasped, and Tails' doll shot an energy ball at Tails, sending him flying off the stairs. "No!" Pikachu and Knuckles shouted. Tails fell back, almost unconscious from the dark energy blast. He tried to use his tails, but he was too late. Tails slammed against the hard concrete floor. His head hurt terribly. He tried to get up, but he felt a sharp stinging pain and let out a loud scream. His spine had shattered. The others were still at the top of the stairs, and Knuckles punched Tails' doll against a wall, and Pikachu shot a huge electricity ball at him, doing a large amount of damage. Tails' doll fell to the ground, unmoving. "Stay down," Knuckles said. "We're going down," Knuckles said. "Get on my back." Pikachu climbed on Knuckles' back, and Knuckles climbed down the church wall. They finally reached Tails, who was on the ground, shaking in pain. "Oh no," Knuckles cried. "Tails!" Pikachu shouted. They ran to their friend, who was in critical shape. "I'm gonna pick you up," Knuckles said. When Tails was lifted, he let out a scream. "Oh no, no, no!" Knuckles panicked. "What is it?" Pikachu asked. "His spine. It's broken. Pikachu, Tails is paralyzed." "Oh my gosh," Pikachu cried. "Find something we can use as a stretcher. Anything!" Knuckles ordered. Pikachu looked around and found a closet in another room of the church. There was a nearly empty first aid kit, and a very worn stretcher with dirt and age marks, and even some small holes. But it was something. He brought it over, and they both placed Tails on it. "We're gonna get you out of here, Tails," Knuckles said. They began to go back up the stairs once more, but Tails' doll flew down to strike. "Come on, leave us alone!" Pikachu yelled. Knuckles destroyed one of the main supporting beams of the church and continued running. "Don't worry about Tails' doll," he told Pikachu. "We gotta get Tails out of here." Tails' doll then shot a dark energy blast at the stairs, creating a huge hole where the friends were. "Okay, now worry about him," Knuckles panicked. "Now would be a great time to use your electricity." Pikachu obeyed and shot electric blasts at Tails' doll, who was fighting back just as strong. "We're almost to the top of the stairs," Knuckles yelled. Tails was weak, but tried to speak. "Jewel," he whimpered. "What?" Knuckles asked. Shoot at the jewel." The Tails doll flew at the three of them, but Pikachu used Tails' advice and shot an electricity ball at the jewel of the Tails doll's head. The contact caused a small explosion and tore the Tails doll to pieces. "Yeah, got him!" Knuckles cheered as Tails doll fell next to the bottom of the church floor. They got Tails to the top of the steps, where there was an exit on the roof. Knuckles looked back down at the Tails doll, and the ceiling caved in, crumbling on top of what was left of him. Sonic and Shadow heard the loud destruction in the distance. "That came from where the others are," Sonic said, worried. "Go, go!" Shadow yelled. "I'll catch up!" Sonic ran off to help, but Shadow stayed behind. He looked at Goofy. He was now just a bloody, beaten mess. Shadow couldn't help but feel sorry for him. He even felt a bit of guilt. He had caused this once decent person to become a disaster. Shadow couldn't bear the thought of it, so he turned away to follow Sonic. But he was stopped by Goofy. "Shadow!" Goofy yelled furiously. Shadow stopped and slightly turned his head back at Goofy. "So this is it, huh?" Goofy chuckled sadly. "Take everything I have and just walk away?" Shadow put his head down in shame. The police will be here to get you soon. Oh, the police! I don't want a life in prison, Shadow. Just finish it now, there's nothing left for me here. There's no other way, Goofy, Shadow said. The damage is done. Oh, it certainly is, Goofy agreed. You took my chances of a normal life. I tried to be nice to people like you, but you shoved me away. You snatched everything and everyone that I cared about. And now this is how you end it. By just walking away and thinking you're a hero. I lost everything! Shadow was silent for a while before finally saying, I'm sorry. Shadow then slowly turned away and walked until he disappeared from view. Shadow returned to what was left of the church and found Knuckles, Pikachu, and Sonic carrying Tails in a stretcher. Sonic looked up at Shadow with tears in his eyes. Goofy had broke his best friend. The four of them just stood there in silence, huddled around Tails. A few months later. It was a bright, sunny morning, and the small pond's water reflected natural light. The grass was greener than ever, and the only sound that broke the silence was the wildlife nearby. The reflection of Tails' face appeared in the water, and there he was, staring into the clear pond. He sat in a wheelchair, very relaxed and calm. The breeze brushed his face, and he sighed. It was certainly a beautiful morning. Sonic walked up from behind him. Hey, buddy, he said. Sonic sat down and put his feet in the water. Nice morning, huh? Yeah, Tails agreed. Tails turned his chair to face Sonic. So, any word from Mario and the others? He asked. Sonic shook his head. No, I haven't heard anything yet. But I trust they're someplace safe. Tails nodded. I bet they are. Sonic and Tails just looked out onto the pond. Well, today's the day, Sonic said, breaking the quiet. I know, Tails said. You know, all that time we tried to get him to leave. I'm actually kind of dreading it now, Sonic said. Tails sniffled a bit. Me too, he agreed. Hey, don't get all soft on me, Sonic joked. He'll be back in no time. I'm sure he'll visit plenty of... There was a Shadow who stood nearby. Oh, Shadow, Sonic said, standing up and walking towards him. Tails wheeled by the two. You sure you want to leave so soon? Sonic asked. Shadow nodded. I don't want to overstay my welcome. Plus, I've got some things to get off my chest. Sonic nodded. I understand. Hey, but look, anytime you want to stop by, please do. Yeah, Tails chimed in. Shadow chuckled. Trust me, I will. Knuckles and Pikachu arrived with the group. Shadow taken off? Knuckles asked. Yep, Sonic said. Well then, Knuckles said, taking a bag off his back and opening it. I've got some things for you. He pulled out a compass. It'll always point you where you need to go, he said. Knuckles then took out a medical kit. You know, worst case scenario. And then this. Knuckles gave Shadow a lighter. You never know when you might need it. Shadow gave Knuckles a hug. Thanks. Geez, Sonic said sheepishly. I didn't even think of getting you a gift. Shadow shook his head. No. You guys have given me more than enough. A place to live, things to remember, and a family. He smiled at them all. Sonic teared up a bit but laughed his tears off. And hey, this gives you a reason to come back, right? Right, Shadow said. Shadow looked at all his great friends. Thank you, he said, for always being there for me, and for not giving up. Well, it was tempting sometimes, Knuckles joked. Shadow let out a small but sad laugh. He would soon be leaving his friends behind. He looked down at Tails and patted his head. He gave Pikachu a fist bump, and he got to Sonic, put his hands on his shoulder. Adios, Sonic the Hedgehog. Sonic gave Shadow a hug. I'm gonna miss you, pal. Shadow nodded. Me too. Sonic sniffled. I hope you find whatever you're looking for. I will. They all stood there. "Well, get to it then," Sonic said, laughing. Shadow nodded. He took one last look at his family before turning and walking away. He was off on a new journey now, but he would never forget the journey that they had taken him on. "I'll come back to see them one day," Shadow told himself. That was the thought that he would hold on to during his travels. He looked forward to that day.